Well, looks like Christopher Wylie is not going anywhere. Just a day after naming the Congress as a client of the firm Cambridge Analytica in his testimony before British lawmakers, the whistleblower has tweeted more details of the firm's operations in India. He took to Twitter saying, and I quote, "I've been getting a lot of requests from Indian journalists, so here are some of SCL's past projects in India." To the most frequently asked question, yes, SCL/CA works in India and has offices there. This is what modern colonialism looks like, end quote. The tweet was followed by details of the firm's operations as well. According to the information provided by him, SCL, which remember is an offshoot of Cambridge Analytica, worked on behalf of a national party in the Indian state of Uttar Pradesh in 2012 when it researched on prevalent caste structures in the state. And a year ago, it worked for individual candidates in UP. The firm also helped develop poll strategies for various Lok Sabha candidates during the 2009 national elections. And a year later, SCL carried out electoral research for the Janata Dal United to identify target castes before the Bihar state elections. So that's the latest trove of data provided by Christopher Wylie. Mohammed Saleh, WION's correspondent, joining me from the newsroom for more on that story. Looks like it's not going to end very soon, Saleh, with all these exposés coming out thick and fast from Christopher Wylie. What are the implications of this latest batch of, let's say, documents or information that this man has released?
Right, Aisha. Now, let's actually be clear in terms of what Christopher Wylie is in fact referring to. The fact of the matter is he has mentioned, in very specific terms about the political parties and also certain individual candidates and also some very specific elections. The 2012 Uttar Pradesh election he's mentioned. He's also mentioned the elections in Bihar as well, and also the 2014 general elections in which, the offshoot of Cambridge Analytica, which goes by the name SCL, has been consulted by some of the politicians and the political parties in India. Now, the fact of the matter is election campaigning perhaps after this has changed completely. What we are looking at is the manner in which, one, these sort of campaign consultancy firms, and two, the political parties who have no qualms in engaging these campaign consultancy firms will engage in getting the data of the people around. Now, Facebook happens to be one of the obvious choices from where data has been harvested. The debate, of course, is essentially on, has it been taken, has the data been accessed in a legal manner, in a morally acceptable manner? And this is where big question marks are raised. But otherwise, these are consultancy firms. It's interesting when Edward Snowden, the man who had exposed us to how the NSA surveillance system works in America, he said, look, what these consultancy firms essentially are also doing is they're using the facilities that, or rather the data that is available on Facebook in a manner in which surveillance companies would use.
Sure, allow me to come in, Saleh. I'm just wondering, looking at this this latest tweet from him, is the question also in some ways to try and understand whether or not these activities that SCL engaged in India, let's talk about specifically about India, whether or not they were really illegal or not. What happened in the United States, of course, has been called into question for the legality of the practices involved because of Facebook. But when it comes to SCL, is it us, connecting the dots or trying to look at the United States and form a mirror opinion on India when in fact this activity could well have been legal as well?
That's exactly correct, Asha. Now, 5 years ago, no one could have imagined that technology would advance in this manner. The manner in which data with the use of artificial intelligence can be harvested, people can be profiled, and data can be tracked on a scale that could have never been imagined before. Are they legally on the wrong side? If I should hazard a guess, they perhaps are not, because they are working under the parameters of the law which are presently applicable. But what is also happening is the very dangerous and almost a sort of a scary manner in which some of these companies which use data that is available on, let's say, Facebook again, data can also be got from other companies as well, like for instance from Google, etc., from where they could harvest a lot of this information, which can also then be used to try and manipulate election results. Now, these consultancy firms do not make bones about the fact that yes, they can actually bring about, massive changes in the way people vote. That is what they're in fact playing upon. Now, when Christopher Wylie speaks about the sort of activities that were engaged by SCL, which is the offshoot of Cambridge Analytica, he speaks of the caste factor. He said we were getting information about the caste. We were also looking at how certain advertising can in fact be focused upon. Now, this is, what is interesting, how certain advertising can be focused upon so that certain groups and certain constituents would behave in a certain manner.
That's interesting. I guess it comes back. Right, and it comes back to that grey area of, what's legal and what's ethical. Maybe the question here is about whether or not the practices engaged were unethical when in fact they might have been legal. We'll have to, of course, do a bit more research on the implications of this information. Stay with me, Mohammed. WION's Mandy Clark also with us from London on the phone line. Mandy, another tweet, another day, it seems that's going to be, how we're going to have to look at Christopher Wylie. The implications of the information he's offering up are still being felt, and I suppose India has gotten caught up in this entire dragnet of sorts after what's happened over the United States and the United Kingdom.
Yeah, it's quite an interesting tweet where he's putting all the information out there. He's certainly not stepping down from his claim about their involvement in India. So, any speculation that he had got that wrong is clearly he's standing by it. He does point out he's got lots of requests from Indian journalists to really understand the full impact and exactly what they were doing in India. And he points out different projects they were on in his tweet, but it doesn't go into detail in exactly the practices they were using, of course. So that is the next bit of information that people will be looking at. What exactly did they do in the certain elections, state elections?
All right, we'll keep an eye on this. Of course, Christopher Wylie can be expected to tweet some more. Mohammed Saleh, Mandy Clark, thank you both for joining us on this conversation. We'll, of course, be looking closely at any developments as far as this entire SCL Cambridge Analytica Facebook scandal goes.